So hello again, everybody. This is Ken Smith. I am the managing editor of Building Financial Resilience. This is our podcast series, Resilience in Action. And today we're going to be talking about buying a home in Key West, Florida. So I would like to introduce you all to two of my dear friends, Nancy Castle Armstrong and Ed Armstrong, who told me not too long ago that they decided to buy a house in Key West. Well, of course, running this podcast, running the blog, and having written the book all about financial resilience to climate change, my first email to my friends was, "What are you, crazy? You're buying in Key West?" So we're going to walk through their decision process, what they considered, what they decided to just deal with. And what I'd like to do now is just ask them to please introduce themselves. So Nancy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Nancy Castle. I am a consultant, and I've been buying real estate for years. Just that's something that I grew up with, and I just like houses. Sometimes a little too much.
Ed?
Ed Armstrong. I am a pharmaceutical compliance expert. I work in the biotech industry.
So for anybody who isn't aware, the place that my friends bought their house in Key West is at the very bottom end of the Florida Keys island string, which is at the bottom of Florida. That's a lovely sunset there. Unfortunately, it's not from their porch, but that's the kind of sunset that you get there. But just sort of to give you a perspective, they are how many miles from Cuba?
90.
About 90 miles from Cuba. So they're about as far south as you can get in the United States. So when you guys were thinking about buying this house, what were the top 3 or 4 climate considerations that you thought about?
So, we know that the oceans are rising, and, that's certainly a concern. And seeing all the hurricanes come in and hit so frequently was definitely a fear. But I spent 3 hours in Key West and I fell in love with the place. And it's just like no other place in the United States that I've been to. The closest thing it comes to is San Diego for the vibe and the feel.
And did you have any concern about snow?
No, but shortly after we got into our house and were hanging around on Christmas Day, the restaurant next door decided to turn on their snow machine. So hence the picture of people dancing around in the snow, little child in his shorts.
That's fantastic.
They do in Key West. It's just
gotta have parties. So yeah, you talked about hurricanes. I look at this map and I just go back to my earlier question. What are you, crazy? It looks like most hurricanes from 1851 to 2021 either routed through, came near, brushed, or otherwise had some impact on the Florida Keys. So what were you thinking?
Head butted the Florida Keys. So one of the things you got to remember, Ken, is we're in the pharmaceutical industry. In pharmaceuticals, everything is a risk-based approach, right? Okay. So we spend the majority of our professional career risk assessment. And what you do when you look at something like Key West is you lay out these concerns, you lay out these risks. And, Nancy will talk in a little bit more about some of the things going on with insurance and things like that around. They're all around risk mitigation. We sat down together as a couple, talked about it. Nancy was already in love with it after 3 hours. But what does it really mean to have a place in Key West? And what are the things we need to do to be prepared for these inevitabilities?
I like that you use the term inevitability. That's part of the introduction to my book, which is Inevitable Surprises. Anybody who is buying a house, looking at a new property, or just a vacation area, actually, none of this is a surprise. If you look at that map, those are the hurricanes from 1851 to 2021. We know these things are coming. We know where they hit. This information is available to us, so nobody should be surprised. Talk a little bit about sea level. What's the elevation of your property?
I'm not entirely sure, but I would guess maybe 4 feet
4 feet.
Above sea.
Okay.
of sea
Above
level.
sea level. And I believe you mentioned your house is up just a little bit as opposed to the neighbor's house, which is just sitting on coral.
So yeah, so I've got a little space under my house between my house and the ground, whereas down the street, houses are right. There's no space under them; they're just right on the ground, and so I would imagine that they would flood first, which is probably why I see the floodplain come down my street. When I look at the flood map, but my house is never flooded, never reported to have flooded, and
Well, that's because our house is designed on coral stanions, right?
yes, our house sits on top of coral blocks on top of a bed of coral. So,
And how old is your house?
1920s.
So your house has seen quite a few hurricanes
Yes,
and lived to tell the tale.
yes.
Yep.
That's also a very good indicator. What about thunderstorms? Did you think about thunderstorms? The hurricanes everybody talks about. We get all the big news reports, big Cat 5 coming in, Cat 3 coming in, et cetera. But then you get these pop-up thunderstorms, and they can pack a wallop in terms of wind and rain. What about the thunderstorm risk?
I didn't really think about that. Thunderstorms are something that we deal with every day. We have a place in Lauderdale by the Sea that we've spent several seasons at. Thunderstorms come through. They look mean and ugly, but never really anything from them. And so, no, I didn't think about those. But you're right. There's a lot of water that comes out of the sky down there.
Christmas this year was, we watched a thunderstorm the whole day, Christmas Day of this year, and we walked down for a Christmas dinner.
Not a lot of thunder,
a lot of rain.
Buckets and buckets, and the street was full of water. We were ankle deep walking home, even though the water was just rushing down the drains. They've got plenty of drainage that they've been working on. And, so there was no hesitation of the water going down the drain, but it was still, ankle deep. It took a couple days for my shoes to dry.
Wow. Well, that's one of the big things about these thunderstorms. They're just packing so much more rain.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk just a little bit about some of the things that you had to deal with. We were speaking earlier about insurance. Could you share with our listeners, what is your insurance situation?
So that's something that it never occurred to me that insurance would be so expensive. I'm used to maybe $3,000 at the most for insurance, certainly not even that much. And that's just for fire insurance. So down in the Keys, you have three kinds of insurance that you need. You need fire insurance, just like everybody else, and that's normally because it's the same level of risk. Then you have flood insurance, which flood insurance, if you're in a floodplain, it's mandatory. But even so, I'm told in a couple of years or even next year that everybody has to have flood insurance, regardless of what FEMA says is the floodplain.
And this is private flood insurance. This is not flood insurance through FEMA.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
And that is between $3,000 and $4,000 just for the flood insurance.
And then you have wind insurance on top of that.
Yes, you have to have wind insurance. And so they make you do a wind mitigation survey. So it's like we do home inspections, every place else. And I thought I was getting like the full home inspection. No, it was just a wind mitigation survey.
So what do you pay in total in insurance every year? Ballpark.
So the wind mitigation is almost 10,000, and plus the flood insurance. So when I first bought the house, I was close to $15,000 for insurance for 1 year.
Wow.
So
wind insurance alone was $10,000.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was because I had an old roof. So first thing I did was I went out and priced out a whole new roof. And, and that came in at a reasonable amount. It was, just around not quite 20,000, right? Fair amount for a metal roof. But I'm also in a historical area. And so because of that, I'm not able to change the outward appearance of my house. So whatever style of roof I had was what I had to stick with. And so on the front of my house are these really cute little metal shingles. Beautiful. Fortunately, that's only on just the area over the porch, which is very small. Because that area alone, because that was shingles instead of the standard metal roof, that was an extra $4,000 just for that little piece over my.
Because you were in a historic area.
Because I'm in a historic area.
Wow, that's amazing.
And the $20,000 investment on the roof saved what on insurance?
So when we priced it out, there's three things that they look at. So if you have a brand new metal roof, that is like, a certain amount in savings. And then if you have hurricane straps, a single hurricane strap, instead of just toenails, then that's another savings. And if you have double straps, then that's another savings. So I got all three. It was like,
so what I'm hearing is know your codes. Certain things will save you more money than other things. Know your codes and know what your insurance is going to do.
Every long talk with the insurance agent about what to do. But then when all was said and done, and I thought I was going to get a $5,000 credit, I only got $3,400 because I had capped out, even the double straps. So
work with your insurance agent very carefully.
Yes.
And that actually brings us to the last top recommendations, and we're going to run out of time here in a minute. What we tell people is know your climate risks. FEMA's got great maps. They've got great websites. They've got great information. Know your building risks, as we were just talking about. You can do certain things to your house that will really reduce your insurance premiums. Some things will, some things won't. Understand what they are. And know your financial risks. We'll get to that in 1 second. But one of the things I love the most in chatting with Ed and Nancy is once you're done with those things, once you know what your risks are, you made the bet, you've decided I'm on high ground, I've got good insurance, etc. Chill out. You're on Key West. You're having a great time. So that is Nancy there hanging out on their porch, having a wonderful time. I hope you were sipping a libation or something along those lines. And
to get the package off the porch.
There you go. So for anybody who is interested, quick note on a survey done by Chubb Insurance. You're not alone, folks. 76% of homeowners said that exposure to extreme weather caused by climate change is their number one risk to their homes. So everybody is in exactly the same boat. Put together a 5 to 10 year plan, optimize your insurance coverage, and definitely invest time and money in event and cost mitigation. If you would like to learn more, please go to Amazon. You will find our book. There's an electronic version, hard copy, and soft copy. And there you'll find many helpful tips and ideas about what you can do to make yourself more financially resilient to climate change. With that, I would very much like to thank my dear friends, Ed and Nancy. Look forward to coming and visiting you in Key West. And that is it for our podcast. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.